15-year-old, and
All right, let's go. Let's go. Let's get this work. Let's get busy. Check, check. Check, check. See something real quick. Yeah. Let's get busy. It's Liberation Minded Media. You already know. Straight Dizzle. And let me just say it like this. As we move forward to this new year, of course, everybody wants to evaluate and make adjustments, right? Which is a good thing. Like a lot of people have different resolutions or whatever, things that they want to do. They want to quit smoking. They want to quit drinking. They want to cut certain people off. Cutoff game is strong. But very rarely do people really like evaluate what they have been doing that needs to come to a halt in regards to other people, right? Like that's part of the level up that you really have to understand. Now what this particular video is about is when too woke goes too far. Like what are we doing individually and collectively sometimes that actually has a negative effect to what our goals and agenda should be, right? Because I noticed something like, I want to say around 2018, 2020, real strong. We had a real strong influx of agents in our community. I mean like bots. I mean like people who had fake profiles. And I also mean those who, they just got so woke that it started being counterproductive. Like they just got on some crazy, weird shit. Remember when the Rona first started popping off? I want to see if anybody out there remembers this. Right? When the Rona, let me put some music to this. Shout out to Braves Club. Salute, salute, salute. Let me put some context into what I was about to say. So when the Rona first started popping off, let me put some music behind this shit too. When the Rona first started popping off, what we had was a lot of people saying a lot of weird things. If y'all remember. You had a lot of people saying things like black people are immune to catching the Rona. Now this is like within the first month. Like there's been no studies at this point. None of these people have been like biochemists, biologists, whatever. And they're saying weird things like black people are immune from the Rona or 5G is spreading the Rona. Do you remember this? I remember this clearly because I had to block and unfriend thousands of people from my Facebook. Stop following people on Twitter, things like that, because I didn't want to see any ridiculousness like that on my timeline. Because one thing I knew for certain is that these same people, once proven wrong, weren't going to have the integrity to say, oops, I was wrong. I guess black people can catch the Rona. Because I'm from Seattle, and that's like where the Rona first touched down in the United States. So when they're saying these kind of things, I'm already aware because of some of my family members working at different hospitals and some of these places where the bodies were first starting to come up. I already knew like some of the first deaths were black. So I'm like, why would people be saying this weird shit? I started doing some research. I was in a group, a Facebook group. It was some black Facebook group, but you know, it's like people didn't really like check credentials. So there was some other people that slid in there. And I noticed a couple posts that were very popular in that group. And the post said something like African Americans can't catch coronavirus or whatever it said. It said something like that. But the way it was worded, like, you know, like even through text, you can tell the vibration of what the sentiment of the person is saying. It's not an exact science, but you can kind of get the vibration and how people text. You can kind of know if they're us or not. Right? So I started looking at the profiles of people that were saying this because I was like, that's just a crazy thing to say when we haven't even done any testing. Most people don't even know nothing about it. Like I said, it was really mostly popping off where I'm from. So I'm already knowing, like, if there's been this many cases in Seattle, and Seattle's very isolated from the rest of the country, like, you got to look at it geographically. This is how I knew that the Rona was going to be bad, and that these people that were saying this ridiculousness were just too woke and trying to sound too smart and it was going to backfire. Because I knew that if the cases were popping up in Seattle the way they were, now look at Seattle on the map. Seattle is like 1,000 miles plus from the nearest major city. So that means if bodies are coming up that rapidly in Seattle, I knew that once it got to the bigger cities, it's going to be a monster. Because if you go to other parts of the country, you're only a quick drive from other major cities. So how much faster would it spread? So the point is, this extra wokeness costed lives, and it was irresponsible. And to say things like black people were immune, it was just weird to me that people would say something like that, and then at the same time say things like this was a government created virus. Because we know when the government creates viruses and things that will kill populations, they're typically going to target us. So if it's government created, we're probably not going to be immune. They probably created it for us. If that's your narrative. And if you think we're immune, why would you say this out loud? So that they can go and tinker with the formula and reintroduce it. To me, it wasn't good strategy. But that's not even the point. The point is, when I tracked down the origins of people saying that we're immune, it came from white boys. White boys were posting in black groups saying that we're immune. And I proved this. I showed this on my Facebook. It was a white boy. And when I went to his profile, everything he posted was anti-us. So he's in black groups telling us we're immune, basically so we can let our guard down and go out there and catch the fade. But on his personal page, he's posting everything anti-black, from promoting homosexuality within black people, saying that the police are in the right for killing us. So I'm like, why would somebody listen to this foolishness? So I had to block people that were saying this crazy shit, because I knew that they weren't going to be able to turn around later and be like, okay, I was wrong, you guys. Because rarely do these super hyper woke contrarians admit when they're wrong and go and double back and come to the fold, as you know, with an apology or taking accountability for things. But that's not really the point. I want to get to the point of a couple different things that I want to speak about when being woke goes wrong. But I just want to kind of set the stage, and that's something that I really wanted to get off my chest, because I'm noticing a trend, especially with people like who just started getting some of this information. I get it. I really do get it. I understand that when you went around believing the status quo that was taught to us, and then you get more information and you become aware of some of the things that you thought were true being anything but true. For example, the 9/11, right? The Twin Towers. See, I get it. Because if you really thought that the Twin Towers fell down because of gasoline melting the structure of steel and making a tower fall down in its own footprints, and then you do some research and you find out that that's not even physically possible, and that planes are, or that buildings are built to withstand a plane hitting them, and then you find out about other buildings that's been hit with planes that are still standing to this day. Like, when you find out stuff like that, then it's like, whoa, everything could be some bullshit. One more example before I go into the main two topics I want to go into. I remember when I first got on YouTube, I want to say about 2009, with a channel that has been taken down since. It got pretty popular. This is before they did too much shadow banning and all that. But the point is, I remember like when all of these different ideas and videos would start popping up, mainly demonizing African spirituality and culture. So it was always like Jay-Z sold his soul to the Illuminati. That's why he got so much money, because he worships the devil and they really sacrifice babies. It was every single black athlete or entertainer, celebrity that has made it had to in some way be connected with devil worshiping. They had to have got their blessings only because of them selling their soul. And then every symbol of African spirituality, the Eye of Haru, that's the devil. It's the eye of the devil. Oh, the pyramid, that's devil worshiping. So it was like everything that was us was painted as a negative. And every one of us who made it from nothing, according to the narrative, it was only because of the deal that they made with the devil. And to me, that was crazy on two parts. Number one, it's just crazy that it's just us that are doing this. And then it's also crazy that people who say they believe in God couldn't give God the credit for these people that's made it. They couldn't give the talent and hard work of these individuals as why they made it. It had to be the devil, meaning by default, what you're saying is the only power comes from the devil and God doesn't really have power. Because if I'm a God-fearing Christian or Muslim, or I practice African spirituality, I'm going to give the credit to somebody making it from nothing, to the ancestors, to Jesus, to Allah, to whatever I believe in. Why would I give the credit to the devil? And then once again, when I researched where these videos were coming from, it was always the same type of source. It was some white boy making videos that other people would copy, add on to. So the source was the same. The source was always from, so these woke people were getting their information from a white boy who would tell you that every black person that makes it has to be worshiping the devil. They have to be, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, we know these kind of things do happen as far as like homosexual rituals and celebrities doing these kind of things. That's true. I'm not saying it's not. But what I'm saying is you got to at least have some discernment though, right? Like, don't get so woke that you follow these trends that are set by people who want to undermine our talent and our abilities. It's the same thing as saying that ancient Egypt was built by aliens, because they can't fathom in their head that we would have the genius to do these things. So they just chalk it up to aliens. But they'll never say that the aliens built anything in Europe that's still standing today. They won't say that Rome was built by aliens. So the same source is always undermining us. And then what we do as we get woke is we start using some of these same trends. I'm gonna give you one more example. And this was like around the time I first started getting on Facebook, and I had Black Guy Stand Radio popping, about 2016. And every single time one of us was murdered by the police, there would be a slew of videos and people who would say it was just a hoax. So here we are burying innocent people who were killed by the police, like Sandra Bland. And then you would have some of our own people saying, no, that's not really true. That was a hoax. She wasn't really killed. At the same time that we're trying to fight for justice in the streets, you had a segment of our society that was so woke. They were trying to convince us that these murders weren't really happening. So by default, what are you really saying if that's not really the case? If we're not really being killed by the police, these are just hoax because they want us to start a civil war, which doesn't make sense when you think it through. Why would they want a civil war if they could pick us off without any resistance? Why would they want another civil war when the last civil war was won by us? Not by the North, by us. Why would they want another one of those? Why would they want to have to catch fades if they don't have to? But the idea is this: if these are really just hoax, then there's no need for us to be organizing and demanding justice, including reparations. If they're just hoax, it's not really happening. So then when I did the research again, and I brought this stuff forth, if you Black Guy Stand Radio on Blog Talk or some of my live videos that I did on Facebook, because my last YouTube channel has been taken down, so it's not there anymore. And I did the research again, and really what really prompted me to do the research was because some of the videos that were being made saying that some of the people that were killed were just hoax were people who I knew for real life, like people who I really knew, their family. And if I didn't know them directly, then I did go to different vigils where I met their family, like Austin Sterling. I'm not even going to say the rest of them. So it's like, yo, these are people who I really know. They're gone. And you got these cats running around disrespecting their families by saying that every time a black person gets killed by a police, it's a hoax. Like you really think after all we've been through for centuries that they would have to act like they're killing us? That's when being woke goes too far. But then when I did the research, guess what I found out? Same source. Not the same individual, but the same type of person. Some white boy making videos using gematria or some other weird numerology to where everything just adds up to something. Oh, he was killed at 453, and 453, if you do that in numerology, that's really 666, that's double, and that's all that's eat. And no matter what time it was, no matter what numbers, they could figure out a way to make it seem like it's something that was orchestrated by the Illuminati, and they're just really trying to start a race war. Oh, black people aren't really getting killed. Then our people started running with the same shit. That's when being too woke goes too far. That's the point. Now, here's what I really wanted to get to. A couple different stories. I'm gonna start off with this one. Let me see where we at. Now, look, man. I've been seeing this more and more on Facebook and other social media. Now, in case you don't know, okay. Yes, this ancient symbol here, right? At one point, some people say it came from Hindu, Ethiopia, some saying ancient Egypt, whatever. But it's apparently an ancient sun symbol from back in the day. Now, here's what I got to say about this, man. That could be very well true, right? At this point, the only reason you know of that symbol is because of the Nazis. And if we're really going to try to bring back some old relics, why this one? Does it make sense? Is it going to be productive? Like if we're talking about trolling, the small hats, or as I call them, 2939, you know, the ones that really don't like this symbol because of that dude in Germany that did that thing that he did, that I'm not even against necessarily. But I'm saying, like, if we're not going to use it to troll, what's the sense? And if we are going to use it to troll, why? What point is that? What are we going to get out of trolling by using this symbol? Imagine yourself rocking it. Like, do you really think any intelligent black people are going to really go and rock out with this symbol for real? The only people that's going to rock with this symbol is going to be these neo-Nazis who don't like us. Why would we want to even affiliate like this? What strategic purpose or benefits would this bring us when they're already trying to paint us as the new Nazis, as the new anti-Semites, as the new racists? It would just be bad strategy. It's a bad timing to try to bring this back. Just because cats want to be too woke because perhaps they just found out about the ancientness of this symbol. Like some things, just give it to them. Let them have it. We don't need it. We weren't using it. We weren't rocking it. Nobody was running around with this. What's the purpose? Just to try to sound like you're so woke and impress people. To be a contrarian. Just for the shock value. So we got cats now trying to stick up. Like there's a small brigade of two wokians, wannabe smart scholars that now want to bring back stupid things that's not going to benefit us. Like out of all the things we could bring back, out of all the things we could be putting our social media efforts and resources into, like we have examples of how we've been able to use social media to push issues that are relevant, like reparations. And that's going to be the next topic I'm going to get to in a minute. Because apparently there's some allies or some people that's trying to make an alliance with us on the reparations. And we're going to get to that in a minute, though. But we've been able to use social media as a negative and a positive. We push trends that are detrimental and negative to the culture, but we've also been able to push the culture forward when it comes to reparations or justice. Think about some of these police that have been brought to justice only because we didn't let the issues die out, because we properly used this tool called social media to educate, to organize, and to push an agenda that was beneficial to us. Moving forward in the next year, 2023, we have to continue to do that and cut the fat. We have to trim the fat. We got to get bitch ass niggas out the paint. Those who follow them, we have to isolate. Bars. We got to isolate from these type of cats, and we have to continue. And we can't just keep it on social media. We got to use social media as a way to actually organize and get back to the face-to-face, grassroots, boots on the ground type of work. We have to use social media the way that Huey P. Newton would have used it if he had social media. We should be using Twitter the way that Malcolm X would have used it. Elijah Muhammad would have used it. As a way to get information out, to push certain agendas, to signal boost different ideas. It's okay to have fun. It's okay. You want to date, you want to get your sexy on. I'm not saying that I'm against any of that. But I'm saying that we should be using it to the fullest moving forward as a tool, because we see the influence we have worldwide. So why just use it to troll all the time? Why just use it to bring back things that don't even matter? So this was just a little riff. I was going back and forth. And of course, you know what I'm saying, like, what happens is when you don't agree with their dumbass bullshit, they assume you just don't know. So that's what they did here. I'm not even gonna go into this. They just assume I didn't know. I just didn't know, because if I knew, then I would be like, yes, let's rock the like. Imagine we're gonna get a Nazi shirt at. Are you're gonna run into a neo-Nazi white boy store and buy a shirt with the swastika on it? Like, for real? Like, for real? You're really gonna be rocking down the street rocking this shit? Like, for real? The only people that's gonna be rocking this is gonna be some extra wannabe woke cats, goofy Negroes, and neo-Nazis. So by default, that's what you're basically fucking with. Anyway, let's move on to the next one, because I didn't want this to be too long of a video, but let's do this right here. So now, something I seen on Twitter. It's pretty interesting, and we're gonna continue with the same, you know, when going too woke, or when being woke goes too far theme. So Asian American groups urge Biden to create Black reparations commissions. We're gonna read this story in a minute, but first let's just check out this Twitter. And I want you to just think in a way that is critical. Like let's not think with emotions. Let's not think about what people think. Who gives a damn? Let's just think about what we can utilize and how we can also use different tools and different people to our advantage. Think about this. Why do you think that the LGBT was able to push themselves into the Civil Rights 1964 Equality Act? Think about it. Why did the LGBT so quickly was able to usurp the 1964 Civil Rights Equality Act? Two reasons. Number one, because it was astroturf from the get-go, meaning it was never grassroots. This was pushed from the top, off top. That's one reason. But another reason is because they used us as mascots. They could have never called themselves a civil rights group if they didn't put us front and center of their movement, even though the vast majority of LGBT are well-off white men. But you couldn't say you need civil rights for a bunch of privileged white men and women. But if you put a black face in front of the movement, all of a sudden it's civil rights. And then what they were able to do once they usurped the civil rights movement is now have leverage and even the reparations conversation. And that's why you've seen that fruitcake in front of the Senate talking about we don't need reparations, even though he wasn't even the FBA. So anyway, let's get back to this. Here we go. So apparently the Asians, some Japanese group, and then let's just see what people are saying. So y'all do realize Chinese and Koreans and other folks that own beauty supply and food establishments, not the Japanese. Okay. They want the business when we get that check. They miss all the black customers that used to spend money with them. So the sentiment is this, like we shouldn't trust it. We shouldn't allow them to stomp on our behalf. They just want the money when we get the check, and they probably do. But see, I don't care about what their intentions are. I really don't. Do not be deceived, my FBA chattel slave descendant family. This is nothing. This is a nothing burger. The extra word salad on the side. They want commission to study. I get that. Cut the check. I agree with that. They're not mentioning cash payments. Yeah, I always side eye other groups trying to be in solidarity with us because I feel there's ulterior motives, and you're probably right. But here's my point, though. Let's go ahead and get to this, right? Here's my point, and I read through this, and yes, they're pushing for the study, the study commission. You know, most of us feel like you don't need to study nothing. We know what it is. I'm going to give them a pass only because that's how they got their actual reparations. It started with a study for the Japanese because this is mostly a Japanese movement. So reparations advocates have increasingly demanded the president to use his executive authority to enact a commission amid the growing movement behind H.R. 40. The commission to study, to develop, despite garnering a record number of confirmed co-sponsors in the House. The bill is set to expire at the end of the year. Japanese American activists and organizations have been powerful allies throughout the decades. Blah, blah. Hold on. Here we go. Just as the Commission on Wartime Relocation and Internment of Civilians studied the impact of forced incarceration of Japanese Americans in the U.S. concentration camps, we call upon you to courageously establish a commission that will bring forward the stories needed to fully understand our nation's failure to address the devastating and continuing impacts of enslavement as the foundation for ongoing disparities faced by Black Americans, especially in areas of health, education, employment, housing, and environmental outcomes. Now, here's why I don't have a problem with this. Because this is actually how they got their money off. So, of course, that's what they're going to say. And we don't need them to lead the movement. We got that. What I'm saying is this. I'm not going to get in the way of them if they're trying to push an executive order in our favor, even though we feel we're past the studying part, and that's okay. But let them push it for us. Let them push it. We got the will, but let them push it. Let them get behind the car and push it like we ran out of gas. We still behind the wheel. And the reason why I have no problem with this is because we've been in a lot of people's movements, like the LGBT movements, the feminist movements, many other minority acts that we've been right there pushing with them. Well, it's time for them to push with us. And I feel that our genius will allow us to be able to use other groups the same way they've used us. I'm not even saying misuse, I'm saying use. So let's not be so woke. And I don't give a damn if they're just doing it because they feel like when we get our reparations, we're gonna spend our money with them. Who cares? Some of y'all will. Some of us won't. Some of us will build our own. Some people's gonna buy new Cadillacs. Some people's gonna buy new Jordans and PS5s. Whatever you do, that's your business. Some people are gonna probably smoke it up and fuck it off, trick it off. Who cares? It's not my business. I know what me and mine are gonna do. So if they're only doing it because their ulterior motive is beneficial to them, who cares? If they're gonna help the issue and push the issue, let them push the issue. Let them make sure that let them help us push an executive order in favor of reparations, even if it's a study. Let's continue to get the ball rolling. We're not going to sidetrack things. We know what direction we need to go. However, the more people that's pushing this and neutralizing the resistance, the better. Creating allies that we understand how to utilize is a good thing. See, the problem is a lot of people don't really see us having the genius to be able to deal with allies without allowing them to usurp executive privilege, executive powers, and executive decision making. I seen the same sentiment in the 2020 uprising when we had all kinds of different people. We had white folks out there, Asians out there, Africans was out there, Hispanics was out there. And a lot of people they had a problem with that. Like, yo, people they just seen the most egregious act with George Floyd being lynched in broad daylight. It was time for them to show if they're with us or not in some capacity. I'm not intimidated by other groups if they sincerely want to help. I just feel like we need to guide the way they do help and make sure that they don't try to take the lead. But if they want to try to push, that's just more people pushing this reparations agenda for us. Even if we don't necessarily agree with the HR 40, which, you know, most of us don't. Even if we don't feel we actually need a study, I don't expect them to push it the same way we would, because that would mean that they're privy to what we've been saying. I expect them, if they're sincere, to push it in the same way they would have pushed for themselves. And in this instance, that's pretty much what they're doing. Look, all these other groups that have been able to get their thing off, they've done it because of us, with our assistance. They owe us. They owe us this, to say the least. They owe us. They should be doing what they could do to help push the issue. We ain't got no executive orders. See, what happens is, from a strategic political perspective, is if you have other groups outside of us pushing for what we have, because they wouldn't be pushing for it if we haven't been pushing for it the last couple of years, right? There wouldn't have been no Senate hearing. There wouldn't be no talks and numbers being floated in California, St. Louis, or Missouri, New York, I think Ohio. See, the reasons why these things are coming out is only because of what we've been doing on the grassroots. Hence, like I said before, the way that we organize and utilize social media is being effective. We're actually doing some things right. We got to trim the fat a little bit from the bullshit moving forward. But what we've been doing actually has been having an impact, because these cats wouldn't be sitting here talking about reparations and we need to get an executive decision by Joe Biden if we weren't doing it. People are taking our lead, and we will continue to lead, but we allow them to participate and push the issue and get it on the radar more. So now it's not just us pushing this. Now this group is pushing this, and then who knows what other groups may join in to push it. And then even if they don't push it, maybe they could just neutralize the resistance. So don't let being too woke be a detriment to the movement because you want to have some type of shock value, or because you just woke up and you really don't deserve to be trying to teach some shit right now, or you just want to troll. Moving forward, let's get it right. Let's continue the momentum. Let's continue to build the new black media platforms. Let's continue to reward and support those who have a track record of pushing the culture forward for us. Everyone has something that they can participate, something they can add on. Everyone. Whether it's likes, shares, putting money towards it, putting your talents, your passions, your gifts, your focus towards it in any kind of little way, it all helps as a collective. We're not looking for a savior. We're not looking for one person to do all the work. we collectively will get this done. And we still have to be able to expose and isolate those who are being used against us, whether they're being used by our enemies or they're using themselves just because they're not on the same page as us. We have to separate from that, neutralize them cats. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching, you guys. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Comment, let me know what you think. And I'm out. Peace.